There's been a lot of speculation over the past year regarding the J.J. Abrams-produced horror thriller film Overlord, and it is finally in theaters, and while I won't say whether or not it ends up being connected to the other Cloverfield films as originally rumored, I will say that it is arguably one of the best films that I've seen in the latter part of 2018, and I think a lot of folks will actually enjoy it. The basic setup for the film finds a group of American soldiers being airdropped into a Nazi-controlled village in France just before D-Day in World War II, with the mission of taking out a communications tower. Once the soldiers are on the ground, however, they eventually discover that the Nazis are conducting experiments that could potentially pose an even greater threat than they had ever imagined. I think one of the things that works so well about Overlord is how strong it starts off. You're given just a few minutes to really get to know certain characters before all hell breaks loose, and you just have this amazing set piece of them having to airdrop out of their plane before it's absolutely decimated by gunfire and explosions, and from that point on you have to have certain characters regrouping, and then things really slow down and you're given a chance to really breathe and take in everything that you're seeing. We're establishing characters like Private Boyce, played by Javon Adepo, and his commanding officer, Corporal Ford, played by Wyatt Russell. Side note, why am I only now figuring out that Wyatt Russell is the son of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn? I'm kind of still processing that. Bottom line is, you're getting an idea of what the stakes are right away, just from a standpoint of American soldiers having to go behind enemy lines to carry out their mission. And that enough is such a tense situation to have to experience and see what these soldiers are going through. But then you have the added threat of the Nazis performing these experiments on villagers as well as their own soldiers, and preparing for, as one character says, a 1,000-year Reich, requiring 1,000-year soldiers. And that is just a great line anyway, and it's a credit to Pilo Asbeck as Wagner, who you've probably seen as Euron Greyjoy in Game of Thrones and in movies like Ghost in the Shell. But here he is just amazingly ruthless as a Nazi commander. And again, this is one of the things that makes the film work, is the characters. There's so much effort put into fleshing out these characters, and not necessarily giving them entire life stories, but giving them little details that key you into who they are and how they interact with one another. And that's important to a film like this, because there's a point where Corporal Ford and Private Boyce are locking horns, because Ford is such a character who is completely devoted to the mission. He's not there to make friends. He's not there to weep over dead soldiers. He just wants to carry out the mission. And it's a great credit to Wyatt Russell as an actor, because you've seen him in movies like 22 Jump Street and Everybody Wants Some, and he's playing fairly bro-ish, easygoing type character. So it's great to see him in something like this, where he's someone who's in command and has to be very stern and straightforward. And I feel like this is arguably one of the best films that I've seen him in. But if there's any character that you really have to pay attention to, it's Mathilde Olivier as Chloe, because her character is one of the characters that the unit of soldiers encounters and has to ally themselves with. And she is just absolutely amazing, because you get the idea that she just wants to go through the motions and make sure that she can protect her younger brother and her aunt, but at the same time, she knows that if she's given an opportunity to take on some Nazis, she is just completely hands-on, and I absolutely loved her for it, because there are some moments in here where she's running away from people, but at the next moment she will pick up a flamethrower and go to work on somebody, and it's kind of awesome. But there's a lot of great cinematography in the film. There's this great action sequence that's a long take. I'm really all about long takes this year in 2018, let me just tell you right now, because if you do it right, you're going to have a great, like, emotional connection to whatever you're watching, just seeing it play out without any cuts, without any edits. The creature effects are astounding. The performers that are sort of like contorting their bodies as they're chasing after people or fighting anyone is incredible, and it's just an exhilarating film to watch. I think this is one of those things where you don't see a lot of films where there's a combination of like military action and drama with horror. Sometimes you see that mostly in like direct-to-video films, but it's very rare to see it in a film that's being theatrically released to a wider audience. So I know that it's not doing that well at the box office right now, but I highly recommend you check out Overlord, and I'm hoping word of mouth gets it a little bit more business, because it's honestly one of the best films I've seen this year.